Hi everyone, so in today's video it's going to be another coloured pencil piece, and I can happily say that I am a Caran D'Ache demo artist, so that's really exciting. Hopefully I can do a lot more videos like this and hopefully explain how I use lots of different products in person. But anyway, this video is going to focus on my bokeh backgrounds. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but these backgrounds that I do that are kind of blurry, blobby backgrounds in my portrait pieces. And as you can see, I'm using colour pencils. These are the Museum Aquarelle pencils, and I'm blending them out with water. Now this is a commission piece. I've very kindly been given permission to film and upload, so you can see how I do this process. So as you can see at the beginning, it's very messy, very loose. I'm not using a lot of pressure, and if I use a light pressure, then that does mean it's a lot easier to blend out the pencil. If you press on really hard, you're going to see all of those marks underneath. So I like to use a nice light pressure and yeah, just kind of hold close to the end of the pencil, so then I have to be like very light, and then blend it out with water. And my brush is only a little bit damp, it's not wet through, because I find when it's too wet it kind of spreads the colour a bit too much, so I just like to use a nice little damp brush. As you can see, it does take quite a few layers to build up, so I'm just working mostly on the left side here, sorry. And yeah, just building those layers up slowly, because it's quite a slow process to get the colours down that you want, because once they're wet they kind of change the way that they look. So I found by kind of letting each layer dry fully and then going over the top, that was how I kind of got lots of depth and lots of colours in the piece. I found that if I didn't let the pencil water dry, I'm not sure, if I didn't let a layer dry, then it would kind of alter the way the pencil would then work on top of the paper, so it was very important to let that dry. You could kind of see then how the colours slightly changed when it went drier. Obviously I did cut out the drying time because that would be incredibly boring. I think the whole process only took about 2 to 3 hours to do. I'm not too sure, and that wasn't including the drying times. I did cut those out, obviously. As you can see, the bottom left corner is all nice and done. It did take quite a few layers to do because we started with like a green base and then worked up to that nice little brown for the tree. And then yeah, we're kind of just repeating the same process on the top, adding lots of blues, lots of greens, and then blending them out and letting that layer dry. Again, using a nice damp brush, because if it's too wet then it will just spread the colour. So kind of every time I take the paintbrush away from the piece, I'm taking more water off the paintbrush, so then it'll kind of blend it and what's the word? It won't spread the pigment as much. It'll be a much tighter blend, if that makes sense. And then yeah, just adding lots of little colours in to kind of represent the highlights on the piece, because it was supposed to be like trees and yeah, the sky coming through the trees. The bokeh background was a mix of different photos I used. So I found like a nice little blurry tree landscape, and then I found a bokeh blue sky, so I added that over the top of the trees. Now I do that in Photoshop just before I start the piece, so I can kind of see how it would look before starting each portrait. Hopefully you can kind of see what what's going on. So I'm just kind of going over lots of different areas, creating very rough kind of shapes and circles with my pencil, nice and dry, and then going over it top with a damp brush to create the kind of blurry effect. And yeah, you can see there perfectly, like outlining the shapes with my pencil, really rough, and then just blending them out with the paintbrush. And yeah, it's just water that I'm using to blend. I'm not using anything else because they are water soluble colour pencils. And I'm so sorry that my head keeps getting in the frame. It was very annoying to watch back, but yeah, I just had to get close to the piece for that part. So yeah, you can kind of see in the top left my reference photo, and yeah, that was edited in Photoshop, but I do keep going back to that reference just to kind of get an idea of where I want each shape and colour. Now it obviously doesn't matter too much because my background was made by me, it wasn't in the original photo, so if I change some aspects it doesn't matter too much, but the closer I can get it to my mock-up, the better. Now this bit was quite hard because the brown was obviously quite strong against the orangey yellow colour and the greens, so that took quite a few layers, and I did use a couple purples as well because I found the purple kind of really added that depth to the brown in the trees. And again, just blending any areas I didn't think worked quite that well with water, and there I went over the whole piece with a nice blue colour to just kind of soften it down a little bit. And here I'm just going over it with a primrose, I think, or the light flesh, and yeah, just kind of softening up all those edges. And then adding finishing touches with the white, so you can see I'm kind of adding in more little circles, and these are the highlights, and then blending them out as needed. Most of the highlights go in dry though, and they're a nice top layer to kind of burnish it and finish it off. But yeah, you can see it's quite nice and soft. It's not obviously a very in focus background, very detailed, but it does complement the portrait very nicely, I think. And thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it a little bit helpful. Yeah, there are lots of ways that you can do bokeh backgrounds, but this is just the way I like to do it. So if you have a different way, that's fine. But yeah, thought I'd just share how I do my backgrounds. Right, thank you. Bye.